we listen to these Bible stories, like the one I just read, sometimes react to them the same way we do when we watch reruns of our favorite movies. Many of us have seen our favorite flicks more times than we can count. The excitement and anticipation is just not really there. Like the first time we saw it when we were in the movie theater. We already know the ending. We could give a play-by-play of what's going to happen next. Our boring commentary would kind of sound like this. Yes, someone's watching her. Oh no, don't look behind you. She's going to freak out. Don't worry, she's going to survive. You will find her. You will. And yes, they're going to get back together in the end. The suspense and anticipation is just not there anymore. When we read these Bible stories, we experience them through our own lenses. Over 2,000 years after Jesus walked this earth. But imagine what it was like for Peter, James, and his brother John. These three guys were Jesus' first picked disciples. They had traveled around with Jesus, and they saw him heal people. They knew that he was wiser beyond his years. He was a talented preacher. But at the same time, they didn't know what was going to happen next. Nor did they know if this movement of Jesus was going to actually last. And it was just a little while ago, just a chapter ago, that Jesus had asked his disciples, "Who do people say that I am?" Peter gave the most perfect answer, saying, "Jesus, you are the Messiah, the Christ, the Anointed One, the Son of the living God." Jesus praised him for his correct answer, but pointed out Peter did not know this information from flesh and blood, through witnessing it in real life. No, he did not have proof that Jesus was who he said he was. Jesus did not have any type of photo ID confirming his identity. Peter just knew in the depths of his soul that Jesus was the Messiah. But as we all know, having book knowledge or an intuition about something is far different than actually experiencing it in real life. Now, Peter, James, and his brother John were hiking up this mountain. And none of the other disciples were invited to come with Jesus. These guys had no clue what was going to happen next. For all they knew, they were going to take a relaxing retreat and enjoy the view at the mountaintop. But before they knew what was happening, Jesus revealed who he truly was. There was any doubt in the back of their minds of who Jesus was. This was their proof. If only for just one brief moment, Jesus lifted the curtain and revealed his true self, allowed his divinity to shine. Did not hold back, but he allowed the overwhelming glory of God to be present. His face shined like the warm and brilliant light of the sun. His clothing became dazzling white. If there was anything that could have made this experience more spectacular, the heroes of old showed up, Moses and Elijah. They came back. They made a cameo appearance on the mountain. The The disciples must have been in shock to see Jesus casually talking to these celebrities, these important men that they had only read about. Peter interrupts this great moment, kind of awkwardly like, and says, "Wow, I'm really glad I'm here. Yeah, this is nice. Hey, Jesus, we can make room for them. I could set up a tent for them." Then, all of a sudden, after he made this comment, a bright cloud overshadowed them and a booming voice had completely overwhelmed them. The voice said the same thing that we heard just a couple weeks ago when Jesus was baptized. "This is my Son, the beloved, with whom I am well pleased." However, this heavenly voice added on a new phrase, this line, a new commandment. Listen to him. Listen to him. Do anything else, listen to Jesus. He fell on the ground, overcome with fear. I mean, who wouldn't? And then Jesus did something so simple, so ordinary. He came to them and he touched them. He said, "Get up. Do not be afraid." It's pretty extraordinary how something so simple, such a human gesture, has the ability to calm us when we're scared and afraid. If we were honest enough to admit it, many of us were afraid of the dark when we were young. Maybe some of us are still afraid. I was definitely one of those kids. More specifically, I was less afraid of the dark, but I was more afraid of what could be lurking in the dark. You know, I was probably the only one who has ever experienced this. So for those who have never experienced this, let me tell you what it's like. As a young child, I was laying in bed and I heard something. And I would become instantly concerned. And I would try harder to listen to hear what it was, try to figure out what's happening. Now, granted, when I was so young, I didn't have rational critical thinking. So any little sound would completely and utterly freak me out. Irregular creaks and cracks of the house. Kind of like those times when I'm sitting in the sanctuary by myself and there's no one else in the church and I hear a creak and crack. It creeps me out. Or a squirrel jumping on the roof. Or the branches tapping at a window pane. Or the howling of a strong wind during a thunderstorm. For a little one, these noises are terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. And sometimes when there was a really, really bad storm in Texas, in the middle of the night, I would run to my mom and I would lay right next to her. Half asleep, my mom would reach her arm over to me and assure me that everything was going to be okay. That was exactly what Jesus did, didn't he? He told them that everything was going to be okay, not to fear. He was right there. Emmanuel, God with us, is with them. When this life does become overwhelming and all we want to do is just hide, I believe that God comes to us and reaches down and tells us not to be afraid. When we're dealing with a difficult diagnosis, when we face financial difficulties, when we're overcome with the responsibilities of life, when we feel like there's not enough hours in a day, and we feel completely exhausted, God reaches out to us and comforts us. He tells us that everything is going to be okay. Not to fear. This coming week on Wednesday will be Ash Wednesday, and just a shameless plug, we will be having a service, and it will be at 7. But after the start of this Wednesday, we'll be starting a new season in the church year called Lent. It'll be 40 days that will lead. Whew, yeah, nobody doesn't want to do Lent that long. We have 40 days that will lead up to a joyous time of Easter. Many people see Lent as only a time to give up something, like chocolate or sweets. But the season of Lent can be so much more. Lent is a time when we can walk with Jesus on his final journey to Jerusalem. We have an opportunity to take time out of our day and do what that heavenly voice said and actually listen to the words of Jesus. And through our book study that we will be doing this Lent, everyone will have an opportunity to study the words of Jesus with fresh eyes. And when this life does become overwhelming, and we feel like it's too much, we can remember the words of Jesus. Do not be afraid. If we were to imagine being one of Jesus' disciples back then, I hope that I was one, and I hope that we were the ones that were climbing up the mountain with Jesus, and not the ones who stayed behind. I pray that this Lent season that we will be the ones who will walk up and down the mountain with Jesus and on his final journey to Jerusalem. I hope that we are the ones who listen to Jesus' words and hear the heart of God.